There are moments in public life when a quiet conversation carries more weight than any televised interview ever could. This week, attention has remained fixed on Savannah Guthrie and the ongoing search for her mother, Nancy. Amid that strain, reports have circulated that Craig Melvin spoke privately with close colleagues about Savannah's state of mind. It's important to begin here. There is no verified recording, no public statement from Craig confirming dramatic revelations, and no evidence of hidden bombshells. What seems far more plausible and far more human is that a longtime colleague expressed concern for a friend navigating unimaginable stress. In moments like these, stories can swell beyond their source. But strip away the sensational framing, and what remains is something quieter. A man who has worked beside Savannah for years, recognizing the emotional toll this crisis may be taking on her. The composure the public sees. Anyone who has watched Savannah on Today over the years knows her steadiness is not accidental. She speaks with clarity. She organizes information methodically. She maintains posture even when delivering devastating news. During this crisis, that same composure has been visible in her public appeals. Some viewers interpret that calm as extraordinary strength. Others wonder why she isn't visibly unraveling. But public composure does not equal private ease. Broadcasters are trained to manage tone and pacing, especially during sensitive investigations. If Craig commented on her delivery, describing it as controlled or deliberate, that observation would align with what audiences already know about her professional discipline. It does not require secret backstories to explain it. It reflects decades of experience in high-pressure journalism. The mother-daughter dynamic. Where the conversation becomes more personal is in discussions about Savannah's relationship with her mother. Every family develops its own emotional language, its own expectations around strength, achievement, and resilience. It's possible that Craig, as a close colleague, has witnessed how deeply Savannah values her mother's approval. Many adults carry echoes of parental standards long into midlife. That dynamic is not unusual. It is human. However, it is also deeply private. Without Savannah herself speaking publicly about those nuances, any detailed characterization of Nancy's parenting philosophy remains speculative. What can be said responsibly is this: Savannah has often credited her mother with shaping her work ethic and determination. Admiration and pressure can coexist in complex ways within loving families. Recognizing that complexity does not require casting judgment or inventing extremes. Strength as instinct, not performance. One theme circulating is that Savannah appears to be performing strength. Another interpretation is simpler. When someone has spent a lifetime responding to crisis with structure and control, that response becomes instinctive. It does not necessarily mean they are suppressing emotion for approval. It may simply mean that organization feels safer than chaos. If Craig shared concern that Savannah might be carrying too much internally, that concern speaks to empathy, not exposure. Friends often notice when someone is holding it together too tightly. That observation doesn't transform into scandal. It underscores care. The narrative that she is auditioning for anyone's approval may resonate emotionally, but it remains interpretation, not verified fact. Silence and speculation. During high-profile investigations, silence can amplify imagination. Delays in statements, carefully worded videos, measured tone. These become clues for people searching for deeper meaning. But journalists are trained to speak only when facts are confirmed. If Savannah waited before addressing the public, that likely reflects coordination with law enforcement rather than psychological coding. It's easy to reverse engineer motive after the fact. It is harder, but more responsible, to acknowledge that we do not have access to private conversations guiding those decisions. Speculation about ransom deadlines, negotiation posture, or emotional restraint can unintentionally distort reality. The most grounded interpretation is often the least dramatic. She is following guidance designed to protect the investigation and her family. Colleagues as witnesses, not narrators. Craig and Savannah have shared countless hours on air. He has seen her navigate breaking news, personal milestones, and professional transitions. If he expressed that he has never seen her look this way before, that sentiment would not be extraordinary. Crises reveal unfamiliar expressions even in the strongest people. But colleagues are witnesses to only part of someone's life. They see the professional version, the in-between moments, the backstage pauses. They do not see late-night conversations, private tears, or the full interior landscape. When third-party accounts attempt to map that inner world in detail, they risk overreach. Concern is credible. Precise psychological conclusions are not. Parenting and generational change. Another circulating idea suggests Savannah parents differently than she was parented, offering softness where she once experienced strict standards. Generational shifts are common. Many parents consciously adopt approaches that feel more emotionally expansive than what they experienced growing up. That pattern does not imply dysfunction in the previous generation. It reflects evolving cultural norms. If Craig observed Savannah encouraging emotional openness in her children, that speaks to her thoughtfulness as a mother. It does not confirm that she is correcting harm. Families are rarely that binary. They are layered, adaptive, and constantly renegotiating what love looks like. The risk of turning pain into narrative. When a public figure endures a family crisis, the temptation to frame it as an emotional saga is strong. It provides context, it gives audiences a lens, but it can also simplify something profoundly complex. Savannah is navigating fear for her mother's safety, coordination with investigators, and the challenge of protecting her children from public frenzy. That alone is immense. Adding sweeping psychological narratives, especially without her confirmation, risks overshadowing the immediate reality. An elderly woman is missing, and a family wants her home. The deeper family history may be meaningful, but it should not eclipse the urgency of the present. What feels credible? What feels credible in all of this is care. A colleague worrying that Savannah is carrying too much alone. A friend recognizing the cost of staying composed. A workplace circle supporting someone who has anchored so many others through tragedy. That version requires no secret meetings or whispered exposés. It simply acknowledges that behind every steady broadcast voice is a human being with private vulnerabilities. If Craig wanted people to see Savannah more compassionately, that impulse makes sense. Compassion, however, does not require embellishment. It requires restraint. Bringing the focus back. As deadlines approach and updates remain limited, the most constructive response is steadiness, much like the steadiness Savannah herself has shown. The search for Nancy remains the central issue. Everything else, the interpretations, the personality analyses, the reconstructed childhood dialogues, sits on the periphery. If Craig spoke candidly, it was likely from friendship, not from a desire to create headlines. And if there is a deeper truth to carry forward, it is this. Public composure does not negate private pain. Savannah does not need to collapse on camera to prove her love for her mother. She does not need to dramatize her grief to validate its depth. What she likely needs most right now is space, patience, and hope. The story is still unfolding, and until facts replace conjecture, compassion remains the most responsible lens through which to view it.